Welcome, everybody, to This Is My Bourbon Podcast. It's episode 344. I'm Perry, and with me, as he always is, it's my co-host, Eric, the Whiskey Mutant Smith.
Would you know my name?
All right. Nobody's going to understand that, except maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll find some way to slot it in.
Retweeted from heaven.
Look, we mess around a lot before I hit the record button, and I was laughing so hard.
You had to stop it.
I had to stop recording. We had to start again. It absolutely killed me. How you doing?
Good.
Good. It's good to be
August.
here. It's August. It's big ass August.
Or, as we like to say on the pregame this week,
Big
dumbass
Oh,
August.
yeah, that's right.
We were dummies.
we lost our
Big
minds this
dummies.
week. I don't know what's going on. We got an interview with this episode with the folks from 15 Stars. They're going to be on a little bit later.
15?
51 Stars.
51 stars.
What's the 51st state?
Oh, Hawaii?
Puerto Rico. No, that's the...
What?
It's okay.
It's the newest one, right?
Yeah.
51.
No, 50th.
Oh. Then what's the 15? What was the 15th?
Kentucky.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the name?
Yeah.
I seriously did not even think of that.
Yeah, Kentucky is the 15th state.
I never knew that. I literally just learned that.
Yeah.
I knew.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Couple days early, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple days late.
What
If you're listening.
Yeah, if you're listening. I thought you told me I thought you were telling me right now that I had missed your birthday. I almost broke out in a sweat.
Did you?
No, your birthday's not here yet. It's 2 days away.
Is it?
Yes, it is. It's the 19th.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Would you know?
Stop. So this is kind of your birthday episode too.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, but your present's not here yet. Well, we did the same thing. Look, you did the same thing for me. No. Cat. No, not the cat.
I'm not mad.
Well,
I'm just disappointed.
you did the same thing for me.
Yeah, I got you.
We recorded before my birthday,
Yeah.
and you didn't give me my present.
Yeah, I did. They saw it. They saw it on the thing.
After my birthday.
On your birthday.
No, after my
On
birthday.
your birthday.
After my birthday.
On your birthday.
After my birthday.
When did you get it?
After my birthday.
Did you love it so much you took it straight home?
No, I left it
You
here
left it
on
here.
accident. I'm really sorry about that. Anyway, yours is still on the way. So when we don't hold your breath. Stop holding your breath. Your face is turning blue. But happy early birthday
Well, thank you.
to you. To celebrate your early birthday, we're gonna crack a bottle together.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that you get to make a wish.
Okay. That's how it works.
I guess. I don't know. I'm just kind of making this up as we go.
Did you know that if you crack a new bottle on your birthday, you get one wish from the Whiskey Genie? WhiskeyGenie.com. All your bourbon whiskey related needs.
Is that a thing?
It's our sponsor.
WhiskeyGenie.com?
Yeah. Just go there now. Check it out.
All right. We might have to buy WhiskeyGenie.com. Let's see if we do it without the E. What? Without the E? Oh, my. That's some expensive whiskey.
Because you got to make a wish to get it.
Okay. Anyway.
Ooh.
Because you're turning 8 years old. I'm joking. This is a Old Route 8 Augusta Distillery bottle.
Nice.
From our friends over at Bluegrass Barrel Pickers.
Nice.
Picked it up from our buddy Jade. Today,
120 proof.
120 proof, 9.5-year-old bourbon.
Rub it a little bit.
You gotta rub it the right way. That was a good pop, too. Do they use the Michter's bottle? I'm just now noticing this. It looks like the Michter's bottle, doesn't it?
It looks like it, but it's not.
Okay. I guess your birthday's 3 days away. We're recording on the 16th.
So is it the 19th?
It is the 19th.
Or is it not? Ask the genie to tell you. That's your wish. You just wasted your wish. You're like, please. I wish that
I wish that I knew. I get one wish.
One wish.
I wish I knew what my best friend's birthday was.
No, are you sure that's what you could just like ask somebody? Like, no,
you already made it. Don't take it back.
No, we're not really like that. Like that's more of a movie thing. Like we're nice.
Yeah.
No. Smells good.
It does smell good.
Smells like butterscotch. Like a butterscotch brownie.
A little bit of fresh cracked pepper on the nose as well. I think they changed their stopper, by the way. It's got a kind of
808.
And heartbreaks.
Drop that 808.
It's got some like, it's like got like an 8 kind of relief.
Gold 8.
Anyway, doesn't matter. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Mmm.
That gets in your nose.
Ooh.
That's a proofy boy or girl.
Bottle.
78% corn, 13% rye, 9% malted barley. Yeah, that's a spicy, proofy thing. I like that.
It's kind of sweet on the finish, too.
Oh, it gets better on the finish.
Yeah.
That's
I'm not upset about that at all. Oh,
because right now I'm dangerous.
We made a lot of little references.
We have.
Here. This wasn't really Flying Blind, which is how we normally kick off episodes. Because you said you had Flying Blind.
I do.
So I guess we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Here. Do you want to?
What about Patreon? Did we talk about that?
No, we didn't talk about Patreon.
Well, Patreon's the place you can go to support the show for as little as $5 a month. You get all the bonus stuff. There's also some like $1 or $2 tiers. If you just want to throw a little money to the show.
Support the show. Chuck it a buck.
But at the $5 tier, you get all the bonus stuff. We do a pregame chat.
Keep talking.
You're pointing.
I have housekeeping to talk about in a second, too.
You get Sampler Irresistible, which we did this week. Sometimes we do pours from the floor where we finish a bottle. Sometimes we do Papa Chicken. That's where we pop a bottle, kind of like we did today, but
that sounded rehearsed, but he's never done that before.
we talk about it in a different way on Pop Chicka Wow Wow.
A much more affectionate way.
Only a way that we could say on Patreon. And then if we do bonus reviews, anything like that, news, giveaways, all the stuff, that's where you want to be on patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast.
So a couple of things about the podcast, housekeeping wise. I talked about this on my live stream last night. I figured I would talk about it on the main feed of the podcast as well. This is super, super boring and super heady, and I'm sorry, it's way inside baseball, but I want to make sure that I get it just in the open for anybody who needs, might need the information. First of all, we switched podcast hosting platforms this past week. That largely will not affect you. Everything is still on the podcast podcatcher apps that they normally are on. We're on. We have a new website for the podcast as well that you can go to find the podcatcher app that best suits you. That is mybourbonpod.buzzsprout.com. The old website is still there. You can still go and listen to the podcast there, but it's not being maintained in the same way that it was. I think. Let me just check real quick to see if. Yeah, it's not. New episodes of the podcast are not going up there anymore. Oh no! Oddly enough, so that website's now kind of defunct.
Defunct land?
Defunct. Oh, maybe we'll get an episode on the old website.
This is my Bourbon Podcast defuncted website.
What a boring episode that would be. The second thing, there is one podcatcher app that is actually not available anymore. This is not really the best place to talk about it, because if you were listening to the podcast on that app, hopefully you found another one already. If not, you're not really hearing this. But Google Podcasts is no longer operating.
Who uses Google Podcast?
Android users, I guess.
Oh,
I don't know.
That's true.
Well, nobody now, to be honest.
Nobody can.
Yeah, nobody's using it because it's dead in the water. But if you are pretty adamant about using Google products, or about using a platform or website or whatever that is similar to that setup, there's YouTube Music, which is an app that is separate from the actual YouTube app, that functions kind of as a media player, where the podcast actually is uploaded just in audio form as well, that you can just go to and check it out like that. Every episode of the podcast is up there now. I had to spend the better part of this past week getting it uploaded and getting every episode public. It was a pain in the butt. I hope that it gets some traction over there, because holy crap, it wore me out trying to get that to work properly. So anyway, those are all available to you now, if you would like to use them. Also want to say too, we are getting aggressively close to the due date for my second child, which means that we are also getting aggressively close to my short little hiatus that I will be on from the podcast. Whether that means Eric and I will be doing some banking of episodes, which I think we're going to be doing a couple, just so we have them in the tank. Or Eric will be taking the reins on hosting duties for a little while, which is definitely going to be happening. He's got an episode with Swan lined up. I think we're going to work on getting some co-hosts lined up for him as well. Jeff Wack has already offered to step in for a co-host if you would like that to happen too. So just to kind of prepare you for that, I don't know how, excuse me, I'm already getting choked up about it. I don't know how long I will be effectively away. I don't think it will be a super long time, because the way that our recording schedule works is that it is kind of baked into mine and Eric's work schedule anyway. In that this is for anybody who doesn't know, we record on Friday afternoons. So it's while kids are in school, it's while everybody else is busy as is. So, yeah, we kind of think that it will wind up being fine anyway. I'm not that worried about it. And I've been saying this for months anyway. So this is all just housekeeping for you all, just to give you a heads up for what's to kind of come in the next couple of months. And to make you aware of different ways that you can, listen to the show if you're not listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or what have you.
Your MP3 player.
Yeah, right. Funny enough, my Brett, my father-in-law, found Lucy's old iPod Touch.
Oh yeah,
like so old, in fact, that it didn't have external speakers. The only way you could listen to it is if you plug in headphones.
That's the last. I thought almost all iPods were like that.
No, but like the iPod that looked like an iPhone.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever had one with speakers.
I think they did. I think they did eventually.
The one I had, you could only listen to it with headphones.
It's crazy. It's crazy, right? Yeah. Anyway, and the other thing too, I just, not to be too heady about money or anything, switching over hosting websites effectively killed our advertisers on the podcast that get kind of baked into the podcast automatically. So a couple of things with that. One, the Patreon is super important right now because that is how we make a bulk of the money of support from the podcast. So please continue to support the show over on patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. And two, if you are listening to the show just through streaming, please consider downloading the episodes as well, because the way that Buzzsprout qualifies us for advertising, which again is not a huge amount of money to support the show, but it is something, and it does help us out quite a bit. Do you just have to drink your Coke off screen?
Yeah. People don't like when I make noises in the mic.
Yeah, that's fair.
They don't even like when I talk in the mic.
Anyway, if you're if you are just streaming the podcast, please consider downloading it so that we can get those numbers up. It really, really does help us out in the long run. So that's all. That's my spiel. I'm sorry that went on a little bit longer than I intended for it to. I don't like doing a lot of housekeeping up top.
You did it.
But it's, yes, thank you.
You got it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Good job.
Cool. Let's move on to Flying Blind.
Flying Blind.
Please. I'm going to move that off to the side. This Old Root 8 is super good. I'm still like letting it linger in my... Yeah! Don't throw the cat again.
Flying Blind. Sometimes we do sips and snacks, but today we have Flying Blind, where we blind each other with a pour. And my Flying Blind is actually going to lead into the next segment of the show. What have you been drinking? Are you okay?
Should I be looking away?
Yeah.
Okay.
In a second. So
not right now.
I've had a little bit of this, not too much this week.
I swear I thought you were about to say I've had a little bit of trouble recently.
I've been in a little bit of trouble. No.
I've had some issues.
But this is something I was going to talk about, but I wanted Perry to try it, but we're going to try it blind. So.
Okay. I'll look away then. If I friended you from heaven,
if I text you from heaven,
would it be the same? Okay.
Tell me what you think about this. See if you can guess it.
Pappy 23.
I've been in a little bit of trouble because I bought this bottle. They're coming for the house.
You bought one bottle of bourbon? Yeah. That's funny because we were over at my mom and dad's on Wednesday for dinner. And my dad was talking about going to Liquor Barn out in Hamburg and seeing the one Weller Millennium bottle that they have for $8,000.
He's like, you know what?
And I said, it's cool that they have it, but it that price just kills the opportunity for anybody to split it, And I know that there are people who are going to buy it outright. I don't care. It's not my business. But if you got 8 buddies.
How many ounces are in a 750? About 25. So if everybody got 1 ounce, it was $8,000 divided by 25.
$320
I ain't
each.
Doing it.
That's too much, man.
I ain't doing it.
Even for 2 ounces, 13 people, 12 people, $640.
That's why we can't have nice things.
That's insane.
Well,
you can't split. Okay. This is your Weller Millennium.
I was going to buy some more. But
I knew you were doing well, but I didn't realize.
I'm not. Okay.
You took out a second mortgage just so you could buy yourself a birthday present.
I hadn't bought any bourbon in a while, and I just went crazy. Okay.
What, in 3 years?
Couple of weeks.
You know how we haven't gone on any trips or seen you or done anything literally ever in a while?
You know how all those pictures I posted about our vacation were just copies of the previous vacation, and everybody was like, this looks like the same thing. It's true.
None of the kids looked like they had grown up at all in 5 years.
It's all true, and it's all because of this.
What's going on with this nose?
I don't know. You tell me.
It's interesting. I feel like I'm getting a lot of the grain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that means it's younger or if it's just grain forward.
Okay.
But I'm for whatever reason registering a lot of grain on the nose.
Okay.
So oh, buddy. That was a mistake. It's like when you have a hot sauce and you breathe in when you're not supposed to.
Or you snort
Just
it
makes
straight through your nose.
Yeah, it makes it hotter.
It's a hot boy, ain't it?
It is very hot. I think that it is younger. It doesn't read very old at all. I'm getting this like corn pudding note on it. And a lot of sugar too. It's very sweet.
Sweet corn.
Yeah. But
cornbread.
Maybe.
Spicy cornbread. Jalapeno cornbread. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is kind of cornbready, but like I seem to be just getting like a lot of just sugar too.
Yeah.
It's just a very sweet, sugary bourbon.
Okay.
Interestingly enough.
Okay. I had a few pours of this through the week. I got home from work, and that's about what I've been drinking. So this is a Knob Creek pick, and it's 10 years old.
No, really?
Yeah.
It's one of the weirder Knob. Phil.
This is a 10-year Knob Creek pick that was recently released at Ernie's. It's called Feel. Feel at Ernie's is, a lot of liquor stores, they have like their, like the OG of the liquor store. Like they've been around since like day one. Like they go on all the picks and everything. Phil is that guy. Like, it doesn't matter what pick there is. Feels like the main guy that's probably going to go pick it.
The OG.
The OG, Phil. This was, I guess, his favorite of what they picked. So I bought it. And I did. I think it's a different.
It's extremely different.
Knob Creek. It's cool that it's an actual 10-year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, straight up 10-year. It was February 18th, 2014. And then it was selected 3/29/24. So
interesting.
So there you go.
It just doesn't read Knob Creek at all to me. I mean, like, even knowing that it is,
it's very different.
Yeah, like even looking at the bottle, thinking, like, trying to tell myself this is Knob Creek.
Else in that?
Trying to tell myself this is Knob Creek. I'm going, I don't know if it is.
I promise you.
I believe you it is.
I promise.
I believe you it is a weird sentence. But that's what I mean.
It's pretty funny, though, and I'm sure people listening, you wouldn't put it past me to trick you like that, though.
Oh, you've done stuff like that before.
Yeah. But this is genuinely a Knob Creek pick.
Yeah.
So.
Or is it? Nah, it is.
It is.
I believe.
For sure. For sure. I promise.
I know. I believe you. Was I making a face? What have you been drinking recently otherwise?
That's it.
Anything? Nothing? Yeah.
I had some Buffalo Trace, just regular old Buffalo Trace last night. And then this.
You want to talk about what we drank last week after we stopped recording the main episode?
Oh, the beer?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that ever again.
I do.
I don't want to remember that.
So
gross.
So the beer was good. It's one of my favorite Oktoberfest beers. It comes from Germany. It's Ayinger. It's like a. And I had another one last night after I got done with my stream. I was feeling a little rowdy.
Rowdy?
And I was like, let's go. And so as of recording, I haven't put this out yet, but it'll be out within the next 24 hours. But on a stream a few weeks ago, I broke out a snack that Don Nishida gave me that was dried sardines and almonds. And it was coated in like sugar and salt. And I mean, like, it was good when I first opened it.
Dusty poop.
But it had gone bad. It had gone bad. And when I first opened it, it smelled like bad fish. And
I expected it to smell fishy. I did not expect it to taste like that.
Now, I'm not going to spoil the rest of it for you. You can probably guess, but it's just on Patreon. And I highly recommend that you go over there and listen to it. It was one of the better things we've done for Big Ass August. So
you got me.
Go and check it out. My sister always gets me a 6-pack for my birthday as well. Just a bunch of different beers in it. One of them was an Atomic Amber Ale from... I looked at it and I just forgot it. So I have to go back and look at it again.
Hot Balls?
Hot Balls. Yes. From Hot Balls Brewery. Eric, you've done it again. You've nailed it with all of... How did you know?
I'm just good.
Clairvoyant like that.
I'm just good.
From Apocalypse Brew Works.
Apocalypse?
Yeah. Look at the can.
Oh, that's cool.
It's okay.
I think they need a new artist. You may need to give them a call. Yeah, that's good.
That's fine.
Cool.
Last night I reviewed the Rack and Tour Rye Batch 2 as well from Dave Jennings and Woodwork Collective. Eric and I tried it as well on the pregame chats. Trying to think what else. I brought over the whistle pig that that Papa Ritter gave me for my birthday back over to Mom and Dad's.
Did you give it back to him?
I did. Yeah, I handed it back. I said, "Try again, old man.
I thought
do better next time.
Do better."
But I shared that with him just to see what he thought. It's such a great single barrel.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, not too much. I picked up I feel like, tell me if you feel this way too. It seems like they took forever to get the B524 batches of Larceny and Elijah Craig out to the Lexington area.
I just saw it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it just was this week that they started popping up.
And that should have been, what, May?
Yeah, because that's when we got sent the samples.
Yeah.
So I grabbed one of the Elijah Craigs yesterday, too.
Nice.
Yeah, because it was at Liquor Barn.
Cool.
We've been purveyors, maybe, of this brand for a while, and been fortunate enough to be sent plenty of bottles.
Yeah,
honestly,
full bottles.
Not just media samples, but full bottles of 15 stars for quite a while. And it was only natural that we finally get to speak with the founders of 15 Stars finally on the podcast. But Rick and Ricky Johnson are joining us on this My Bourbon Podcast. Guys, thank you all so much for sitting down with us for a little while to talk about your journey in bourbon. But welcome to the show.
We're happy to be here. Appreciate it.
Of course. So we kind of just Eric and I normally kick off episodes by asking each other just a very generic question, and we'll ask you all the same thing. What have you been drinking recently?
So besides 15 Stars, which is truly most of what we drink, whether we're blending or testing products, writing tasting notes, I like to experiment a little bit. So I've been trying different one thing we've been trying is Japanese whiskeys, and some Armagnacs, some different fun stuff. But
Yeah, that's the same for me. We do drink a lot of 15 stars. We like our whiskey, and it's readily available. So we like to keep tasting it. Obviously, we do drink some other things. Latest other thing was just got a nice bottle of an apple brandy made in Kentucky from a guy that's just from his apples. He did it. Real small, but that was fun. As Ricky said, Japanese whiskeys playing with, and then we also we can talk about it a little later, but we kind of keep what we call our reference collection. And so for us, we're producing highly aged whiskeys and blending. And so we buy and keep an inventory of the very best bottles that distillers put out, right? They're very premium, the ones that, you can't find anywhere. And we drink those along with our bourbons just to make sure, we want to make sure ours stand up to that level. So we drink some pretty good whiskey.
Do you ever pair anything? Like, I love, people listening, I like to pair snack cakes and candy and everything with bourbon and whiskeys and rye.
Even just run-of-the-mill regular food, too.
I just love that aspect of whiskey, the whole pairing aspect. Do you ever do that? Like, maybe you're having some of your new stuff, you're like, oh, this would go great with this, or straight up, you're like, I'm going to eat some apple pie with this one.
I don't know if so sometimes when we're tasting our cask finish products, like our triple cask, especially our triple cask, we'll get chocolate chip cookies have people eat those because it kind of transforms the flavor. But outside of that, not too intentional with food pairing outside of like, okay, I'm having a nice dinner, which bourbon do I want with this? Which I guess is kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I like to have sweeter bourbons with desserts and
yeah. I play around a little bit with steaks, so I love a great steak.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm playing around with our bourbons and steaks and just trying to figure out, okay, what do I think the best is?
I think the Timeless Reserve and the Triple Cask both tend to go pretty well with a really nice steak, honestly.
It's a pretty good living, isn't it? Great steak, medium rare,
I'm not upset about it. We my wife and I were just in just outside of Louisville this past weekend, and we went to a brewery, and they had a small little fair, and there was a guy who was selling his own rubs. One of them was a coffee rub, and I'm a sucker for coffee rubs in general, and I haven't had the chance to pair it yet. But I'm really, really excited for the chance to pair the triple cask with the coffee rub, because I'm imagining that there's some magic waiting to happen.
I can see that for sure.
There,
I can too. Yeah.
Regardless, though, we wanted to kind of give people a little bit of background about 15 Stars before we go too much into specific products in the brand. We wanted to ask you guys about your history, about your experience within the bourbon and whiskey industry as well, and spirits in general too. But how did the idea for 15 Stars kind of come about?
Ricky probably needs to take this one at the start. He got us into this, and so I'll fill in holes.
Yeah, so kind of a little bit before college, when I was in high school, I was working on a family company, just interning in summers, called Black Jewel Popcorn, a popcorn company that sells unique heirloom colored corns, including black, red, white, and blue corns.
Interesting.
Want me to do that dog and pony show, Ricky?
Yeah, show them.
There it is.
Yeah, a little black corn.
Show and tell.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. And we got reddish corns and blue corns and all kinds of heirloom corns that,
Sure.
for this Black Jewel Popcorn Company that we grow.
We're gonna have to
really
do some
specialty
I
stuff.
need to do some pairing.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find
Yeah,
some.
there you talk
Yeah.
about pairing. There we go.
Yeah, so basically,
Interesting.
spent summers working on that, and then one summer, while I was in college, my dad asked me, he said, "You want to see if we could take those corns and turn them into bourbon?" And so I obviously took up that task for the summer and spent, until the school year started, figuring out whether the chemistry would work, learning just everything about bourbon. I was turning 21 that summer, so I was fairly new into everything. So there was plenty of learning to be done, and obviously there still is, and there always will be. But we made some great connections that summer, and one of those was with Bardstown Bourbon Company, who I'm sure you guys are more than familiar with.
Love them.
Yeah,
dear friends of the podcast. Yeah.
Yep. We love them too.
So, yeah, they were super into the idea of distilling these unique corns. They hadn't done anything like that at the distillery yet. It's a young distillery now, and it was very young when we were first talking to them. This was 2019, and so they were willing to take up the project. And so we, in November of 2019, shipped them some of our black corn and made our first distilled our first mash bill, which was a 70-18-12, the 18 being wheat rather than rye. So did that in a wheated bourbon first.
Interesting.
Yeah, and since then we've distilled all of the other color variants, the red, white, and blue, together and separately, and we've done the black and white in a barely legal rye mash bill. And then since then, we have kind of honestly come across what is now our passion and the motive behind 15 Stars, really, and that is blending. So we used to do a bunch of flights just to learn how different variables affected bourbon, whether that's floors in a warehouse it's aged on, different rye percentages, bunch of different stuff. And we would always, at the end of those flights, blend the stuff together just to see, just out of curiosity. And a lot of times we liked that better than each of the individual products. So we started trying to blend a little more intentionally. And that led to our journey of sourcing a bunch of different mash bills that we now have in inventory, ranging at this point from 0 all the way up to 20 years old. So a very thorough and aged inventory that is allowing us to really play around and create some unique things and to have options. Because, if we were a distillery that produced 3 mash bills, there's only so many things that you can create with that number of mash bills. But to have a really diverse inventory has allowed us to really play with the blending. And what came of that was our first product, our 14-year-old Timeless Reserve, which is no longer around, but was an incredible product, a blend of 14 and 15-year-old Kentucky bourbons. But yeah, that was kind of the origin, was based around blending. And we still haven't released any of those early corns, the black corn that we produced in 2019. Right. A little under 5 years old right now. I'm more patient, so we're waiting on it.
Maybe add to the story on that. Here's what it was going to be. A 15-year-old. So that's what we had made up, ready to go. The labels.
Right.
I just had this one bottle that I put that label on. So we were just going to, originally we thought 15 stars. You got to do a 15-year-old to start off with. And so we had it in there, and, we really said, hey, it's really, we know that we can make a better bourbon than just that 15-year-old by blending. And so we actually were just playing around. We had the 14 and 15-year-old together. And we said, okay, so we blended it. It was clearly better. And we said, hey, we got to throw those labels away. So from the very start, we've always just said flavor rules for us, right? And that's really, we don't have any other goal other than to produce the very best flavor out of bourbon that we can do with our inventory, which, as Ricky said, is really deep. rich. Good options for blending. If you're going to be a blender, you got to have options. If you don't have options, you got nothing to blend.
Of course.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of how we got to the 14-year-old. Is actually a blend of 14 and 15. But Ricky, we're going to maybe go on and talk about where it went on our first release.
Yeah, sure. So, one of the big marketing activities we take part in are spirits competitions, like many other brands. And being a new brand, we didn't know what to expect, but we entered that 14-year-old Timeless Reserve in a bunch of competitions, including the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. And it ended up being one of 3 finalists for Best Straight Bourbon that year.
Pretty good start.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a heck of a way to come out of the gate.
Ricky came to me and said he got this email. They wanted us to spend $500 or $600 and come to their thing at San Francisco. And I said, hey, there's no way we won that, right? They're just trying to get another $500 out of us. And then the email came, and then we saw a Forbes article that said we were one of 3 finalists for Best Bourbon of the Year. And we thought, I grabbed Ricky and said, I was wrong. We actually were, and we had a great family. Ricky and I and Ricky's sister Annie and my wife Alice took a great trip to San Francisco. We didn't end up being the top dog that year, but 1 of 3. I mean, pretty cool. Great start.
How did you all recenter yourselves after that, though? Because that's something that can pretty quickly go to your head, even though you are finalists. You didn't win. You can go, well, we've got something here. You might get ahead of yourselves, right? I mean, what did you do to say, well, we still have work to do?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean,
pretty grounded people, I think.
Sure.
We strive to do well in the awards, but it's not what drives what we do. So nothing. I don't think it really changed anything. We just went back to doing our blending and trying to do our best for the brand. And
although I would say, I think it opened our eyes to maybe what's possible, and I think it's made us work harder, right? To be more committed. And, honestly, it's been an unbelievable couple of years. It's the awards that we've gotten. And we know you can get golds and double golds and platinums, and those are all great. And we're not, we'll take them, right? And we're happy. But we've won a couple best of show whiskeys against all whiskeys. We've won several best finish whiskeys. We've won best bourbon. I mean, we've gotten a number of those very tough. We've won Blender of the Year. I mean, we've won a long string of those very top awards, which is really kind of, again, not go to your head, but it really, more than anything, it just dials you in to say, hey, if you really work at this, you can produce some really amazing whiskeys. And it's great for a new brand to have these competitions, because it's so hard for a brand to show up on a shelf and in people's minds. And, people judge with their eyes, right? And if you haven't heard of it and you don't know, and it's fairly expensive, because these are really high aged and exclusive bourbons. And so, when you're talking about $140 to give it a try, and you never heard of it, that's tough. That's a tough deal, right? And so these blind competitions have given us the opportunity to, without having to think about brand, right? Without somebody thinking about brand, just in a glass, and just say, which one do you like better? That's really, really, really helped our brand and help us get our brand through. So we're really appreciative of those competitions and the ability to enter them. And I think anything, not one of it goes to our head. It's kind of like, are you kidding? And it makes us work harder, and more, I'd say more committed to that blending than ever, because what we know is we can take some really fine whiskeys. We don't bring anything in our inventory that we don't love. and they're great whiskeys by the great distillers from our sourcing standpoint. We love what we distill too. But when we bring something sourced in, we love it, but we know that we have these opportunities to dial in something really special right before it goes in the bottle. What a luxury, right? To be able to dial that in right before it goes to the bottle and put something in there that you really, really love and feel good about. I think it's a unique opportunity if you take the time. It took a long time for that 14, 15-year-old to get 14, 15 years old, right? And we didn't blend it in 30 minutes either, right? We take a lot of time when we go through this process. It's very deliberate. We blend it, we proof it at different blends, different proofs. We run it around a lot of different corners. You got to go away from it because you can only kind of go so long, and then you need a break and come back to it. So it's a real process for us to put this stuff together. It's fun though. I mean,
sure.
It's fun.
I think it's a good mindset too. Like, like you were saying, like you didn't let it go to your head, but you also didn't go out and like do too much. Like I think sometimes brands they'll do too much. They're like, okay, we did this, now we're going to try this, and it's like that one product that's a little too much can throw me off, like for the whole brand and stuff. So it sounds like you just kept it to you. We want to make a good tasting whiskey. We want to work harder on our blending, but we're not going to go out of our way to try to be like, we're going to win gold next time or something. You just kept trucking on.
Yeah. Well, you said it, and what Ricky said is to me was just, hey, what we can't do is put a whiskey out that doesn't meet up to those standards, because you're exactly right. You start getting uneven. If there isn't a confidence there that the things you put together are going to be extraordinary. Again, it's a big call for some people to invest in a highly aged whiskey.
And it's all very subjective too. I mean, what does gold star mean? What does gold medal mean? It's hard to define. I mean, you can only go off of what you think is the best whiskey you can make, the best product you can put on the market. And I think that, until you really have put it in front of the people that even give you that kind of accolade, are you ever really going to know? But at the same time, I mean, it does seem like you all are just, again, trucking along and moving along and pushing yourselves further and further. And I think that, there seems to be some kind of like symbiosis, some kind of, playing between you all as a father-son team, that helps, the growth, not only of the brand, but of the product, and also you all as ambassadors for your own ability to create better and better product. Right. So where do you all see yourselves as partners in this project, this larger project, which is 15 stars? And also, I know that you said that, Rick, you kind of came to Ricky with the proposition of, distilling whiskey from your own corn, but was that something kind of in the back of your mind? I think that's something that, we're both parents, you always want to have some kind of connection with your children to,
when my kids first have their first drink, I would much rather like we just start a brand together.
Well, sure. Yeah. But I mean, like, you want to like have some kind of connection with them, as they get older, and you want to be able to, hold on to that.
Yeah.
Whether it's through, working with them or, whatever it is, but like, was that something that was in the back of your mind too? I know that's a multi-layered question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I worked with my dad, and in a couple of businesses. He started in a gasoline business, which when I got out of college, got in the convenience store business. I opened our first convenience store. We grew that to a couple hundred locations. So we built a nice business over 20 years, and real pleasure working with him. I mean, it's a luxury in life. Let's just say that, right? And it doesn't always, father-son relationships. What you got to remember is individuals are individuals. Everybody's different, right? We all come to the table with different strengths. And so mine were different than my dad's. Ricky's are different than mine. But when you can make that work, I mean, that's an awesome thing. And our daughter, Annie, works in our popcorn business. So she's doing the popcorn thing. Ricky's doing bourbon. They overlap here and there. Alice is happy. My wife, she comes in. I don't know, Ricky, did you go to lunch with her today?
Not today.
But Annie did. So she's in, she's in. Unfortunately for Alice, my wife, our blending operation, she thinks it's our kitchen, but Ricky and I think it's our blending operation. And so it all happens. So it is a family affair, right? And so these things, what you don't have with us is a corporate guy putting something together and doing it on work hours. What you got here is a family that gets together, spends time together, enjoys it, is committed to doing it. And to some degree, I think, with the kind of relationship we have, we can be honest with each other in a really good way.
Sure.
Right. And so I think it's a bit of an advantage to kind of do it. I mean, how many blends are made in the kitchen? But honestly, ours are. Ours is put together. Ricky leads it. He's got the better palate. I hate to say, slightly, ever so slightly, but he does have, and so it's a real privilege to be able to do that. And as much as Alice complains about the blending bottles around the kitchen, she loves it, and she participates, and it's a family affair.
It takes a different. I could imagine the family game night like being a little different around you guys. Like set the glasses down. You're like, all right, I'm going to beat you this time in a blind tasting or something like that.
So maybe we ought to ask Ricky what he thinks.
Right. I want to speak to especially about the personal kind of family touch. I want to speak to that. Every time that we have been fortunate enough to get media sample, I'll even if they come in full bottles, I still call them media samples, right?
Yeah.
Every time that we've gotten one, there's always been a handwritten note with them. It's always been, "Hey Perry, hope that you enjoy this. It showcases XYZ about our brand. Here's what we're doing differently with it. Thanks, Rick or Ricky." And it's like that to me, and not everybody is getting a handwritten note when they go out and they buy a bottle of 15 stars. But if we're handing down ambassadorship, right, from the people who are making the whiskey to those of us who are talking about the whiskey on our podcasts or on a YouTube video or a live stream or whatever, that goes a long way to show that there is still ownership and there is still camaraderie within the brand, and there are still people who care about what is going into the bottle, right? And I think that 100%. I think that's something to be noted, right? That you all really are still taking a very hard stance on what the final product is that the label represents, right? And that kind of leads me into what I want to talk about with two of the products that Eric and I have on the table, which are the Three Kings and the Triple Cask Finish, because these are two of what I would argue are some of the more innovative products that you all have in the market. This is the second edition of your Triple Cask blend, and the very first edition of the Three Kings, right? So I think we'll start with talking about the Triple Cask, and specifically talking about the finishing process, because I know a lot of people are finishing right now in bourbon. And there's something that can be said about some brands feel like they need to finish in order to cover up imperfections in whiskeys. But if you look at 15 stars, I mean, Eric and I started out by drinking the Timeless Reserve, the 13 and 15-year-old blend, right? That on its own is an exceptional whiskey. There's nothing you need to cover up on it, right? And I don't think that there's anything that's in the triple cask blend that needs to be that needs to be covered up as well. But there are so many people that are just trying to say, well, we didn't know what to do with it, and so we finished it in XYZ barrels. But by putting it in all three of these different finishing barrels, y'all seem to really push it to a different realm of possibilities. So what is taking you all to these different levels of opportunity with finishing with 15 stars?
We're ever curious. We're always playing around. And so we're still figuring out the finishes we like. We're getting closer and closer to finding that out, but we've been experimenting a lot.
So you take all three of the ones you like and you put them into one product altogether.
It works.
How we started on the triple cask, Ricky, how we got that first one.
Yeah, so we had put our bourbon into a bunch of different finishing barrels. The cognac, port, and rum, the triple cask one was finished in, included. But the intention, because what we did was we blended the whiskeys and then put it in those casks simultaneously to age. And the intention was to release the cognac, port, and rum separately for people to try side by side, having the only variable be the finishes, so they could see the effects of the different finishes. But the same as how I described our flights in our early learning days, we took those finishes and combined them together before our bottling, just because we were curious, and ended up liking that blend better. So not something that's very foreign to us, tends to happen a lot. But so it was, I think we were a month out from our bottling at that point, and a month is not a long time to get things done. So we had already made the labels for each of those individual products, and we ended up throwing those away, and in a month having the new triple cask labels made, and that ended up being what went in the bottle.
What changed between batch 1 and batch 2 for you all?
Literally the port was replaced by apple brandy in the finishes. So cognac, rum, and apple brandy for the second batch of that. But it's always different because the things we were finishing, the finishing barrels are at different ages. So it's not like we couldn't just identically replicate the triple cask one. So there's still a little experimenting to be done. But for that, so it's kind of just back to the drawing board. We tried we didn't just land on or only end up replacing one of the finishes because we wanted something similar and we wanted it to be easy. We tried to blend 11 or 12 different barrel finishes, and we ended up going back in that general direction. So we just completely redid the process and found something we liked. But when what you were saying about people liking to cover things up with finishing, it's like my dad said, our inventory is filled with a bunch of product that we love. We don't buy anything we aren't super happy with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want proof that triple cask is good without a finish, try our 8 and 15-year private stock. But it started out as incredible bourbons, and we just, again, our curiosity at play. We want to finish, and there's no sense in finishing something we want to cover up. If you finish the best product, you'll get the best result, and that was our goal.
Yeah, and I think we don't think about it of blending anything out. And if we did have something we didn't that we thought we needed to blend out, honestly, we'd sell the barrels. We wouldn't mess with it. So we don't want to blend out. We want to blend in. And I think what you find in that finish, and all our finished bourbons is, what we're really trying to do. It's the same thing as the blending, right? We're trying to find that balance, right? That balance that brings extra complexity and dimension and interest to that whiskey. And so we do it with our whiskeys. And then when we go back to blend, to blend those finishes, it's the same thing. We're blending those finishes in there at the ratios. So it's really a double blended whiskey in some ways, right? We blended the whiskeys to find exactly what we wanted. Then we reblended it at the ratios of those various finishing barrels that we thought again produced the very best whiskey. So we're really blending in flavors and trying to find balance in those. And so we work really hard to make sure that the whiskeys themselves, that the finish isn't a cover up of the whiskeys, that the finish is additive to a couple of really wonderful bourbons.
I appreciate I was looking at the label, and a lot of times my notes when I taste something or smell something, I do color in my head, like a color pops out. And I mean, I don't remember what the color was on cask 1 label. Maybe it's the same.
It was also purple.
Was it purple?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like when I just had that and then I looked at that, I was like, purple, like
seemed right.
Yeah, it was just perfect. It was like grape Kool-Aid or something like that. Like that's just, I don't know. I wanted to point that out. Y'all definitely hit the nail on the head with the label, and then Ricky's shirt there. Like it was like this is I would pair this with your shirt. That's awesome.
Yeah. I might have to do that later.
Yeah, it looks good. No joke. I'm all about fashion and stuff too. So like this matches. It all pairs up really well. So
thank you.
Has there been anything that you all have put out that you may have surprised you as far as public response one way or another, and maybe not, even if it wasn't, as popular as you thought it might have been? Because I think that, finishing can be polarizing one way or another, but I still think that largely the response to both releases of the triple cask, it's been a pretty positive overall response to it. But have you all found anything that you thought something didn't line up with how you thought it would have been received?
Sherry cask was a surprise.
Sherry cask?
Good surprise, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had a bad surprise yet. Not yet. But sherry cask was kind of, we had, it wasn't even released. So if we bottle a product and we're planning on releasing it somewhat soon, we'll still enter it in spirits competitions. So we entered our sherry cask in the New York World Spirits Competition, and it got named Best Bourbon. Best finished bourbon, and then moved on to win best bourbon in the fall. That was in September of last year, and we didn't have it in the market when that happened. So you can imagine.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. We were frantic to
got it in quick.
Get it in the market. So I guess that was a good surprise that created a little bit of chaos. But
sure.
And that was the tough one in blending too. I mean, there's a art of blending in a different way. Really unique whiskey. We found these sourced barrels, 13-year-old Kentucky bourbon. They've been in a sherry cask for like 7 years, right? 7 years, a long time.
Yeah,
goodness.
We called it sherry concentrate. It was almost undrinkable. I mean, it was just sherry at the. It was a lot of sherry.
You can say it.
You can say it if you want to. I mean, we're people. Hopefully, people are listening, or they're adults. Listening to the podcast.
Yeah, at 140 proof too.
Yeah,
hazmat sherry concentrate.
Goodness gracious!
Wow.
And there it goes to breadth of inventory, because we bought these casks and then we said, okay, this is going to be interesting, right? And so quite a surprise to end up with that one. I don't know how many best finished bourbon awards, but a bunch. Just showed up on Uprocks. I think you said today. Isn't that right?
Yesterday, the article was published.
Yesterday, yeah. So it just keeps showing up as a best bourbon and best finished bourbon on so many different awards and influencer channels. But that was one we were really worried about at the start, and that goes back to depth of inventory. Is we had one bourbon that we could blend with that and a 10-year-old, which is why it's got a 10 on the front. So it's a blend of 10 and 13-year-old. But we had one bourbon that we thought really accented with that well. And so we actually just backed that off in a blend and produced a really, really wonderful whiskey that is really just cannot really be done without going back into PX sherry cask for 7 years. So it'll be a while.
I want to try some hazmat sherry concentrate.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff. Honestly, if you put it on a rock, it'd be great. Let it cool.
Yeah.
Get it a little chilly. Let it water down a little bit.
I don't know, man. I'm a big fan of hazmat whiskeys. I mean, honestly, that's the possibilities with blending at that point too. I mean, that sounds pretty exciting. Eric just picked up the Three Kings as well. This one's really interesting to me, and the note that we got with this one, I think I alluded to this one the most earlier. The note that we received with this bottle specifically talked about the art of blending. That it wasn't so much about like we're trying to really shake up the market, or we're not trying to make things completely out of left field for people, but this is just to showcase how delicate the blending process is, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, truly, there really are not any other products on the market that are a blend between bourbon, rye, and wheat whiskeys.
I like it.
It's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
This feels like, to me at least, something that y'all came across by accident.
Yeah. Well, the wheat whiskey, old wheat whiskey. How many old wheat whiskey barrels are there in the world? Not very many.
Some of them are being sold by a particular distillery out of, a city in Kentucky for $8,000 a bottle. So that,
Yeah. Old wheat whiskey is hard to find. And so that was kind of fortuitous. But Ricky, you want to talk about the blend? You made it.
Yeah. So we got the wheat whiskey barrels. We were thinking about what we wanted to do with them, and ended up thinking it would be a pretty cool idea to blend with both rye and bourbon and kind of make it 3 different American whiskeys. It was a really cool thought. And then we got to the blending, and it started being a little less cool when I started pulling my hair out, trying to figure out how the hell we were going to get it to work. It was
act.
Yeah, it was the toughest one yet for me, just because you can imagine the 3 different types of whiskeys kind of battling each other in certain ways, where I found the bourbon and the wheat were the easiest to get to play well together. The rye, a little tougher, because when the rye, I was playing with it at low percentages. I'll just say it's 40% bourbon, 40% wheat whiskey, 20% rye. And the rye, I was playing with at like 10% to 15%, and it was just giving off a bunch of spice, and you weren't getting any real like rye flavor out of it. And so, if the rye is the problem, you typically think, okay, less rye is better. But turns out when you added more rye to it, it ended up putting more of the rye flavor in and reducing the spice. It is an 11-year-old rye, so it's mellowed out a little. But yeah, that you add a little more and that spice goes away and it just adds flavor and it created something really nice. But it was a multiple day affair and a few phone calls of me to my dad saying, "Hey, this is getting tricky. I don't know about this one."
Tricky Ricky.
Tricky Ricky. I like
Not
it.
the first time I've heard that.
You did a great job.
There was a point where, it was a question of could we find it? And we ended up getting a ratio and we actually added 2 bourbons into it, right? Made it 2 bourbons instead of 1. So it's 11 and 15 years old. So wheat whiskey, rye whiskey, and actually 2 bourbons blended together that make the bourbon side of it. And it took some work, but it is I think it's one of my very favorites. It's an exceptional whiskey. Getting the balance right back to talk about the balance and blending, right? Getting the balance with those 3 whiskeys and getting it so it doesn't, it's not one. One, they're not fighting each other, that they're working well together, and that one of them isn't taking over the other. It's a work of art in some ways.
I was just gonna say, like, I love when a whiskey, like the nose, kind of just like flows right into the palate. Because you'll get some whiskeys where you'll pour it up. Oh, this is a great nose. And then the palate is different. And like, this is a really good example of like, okay, I see where this is going on the nose. I like this nose. And then once you hit the palate, you're like, yes, like, like this is what I wanted on the palate. Like, it's a great, just flow. Yeah.
That one's going to be a tough one to redo. All of our 11-year-old wheat whiskey barrels are in that. And so,
all of them.
Oh, yeah. It was small, so we're working, we're playing, but to get that, we love those high age notes, right? And so, yeah, we will see.
It's good.
But it may recommend it. Maybe never to come again. Who knows?
Well, you better not drink all this bottle.
Well, look, what's mine is yours.
I know.
It's so funny though, because we always talk about this, that anytime we get sent bottles, we share them between us. 15 stars doesn't really make it too far out of my house, and I kind of keep it at home.
That's a really good compliment, because like with the amount of variety of things that we get sent, like whether I keep a bottle or Perry keeps a bottle, like 15 stars doesn't last very long. Like, and that's a very good really thing. You put out some great stuff, but this is. You got it on this one. I like that.
It reminds me so much of. I hope I'm not like sticking my foot in my mouth with this.
Careful.
It reminds me of E.H. Taylor 4 grain.
Interesting.
I have not had that before.
I haven't either. We're gonna go try it.
There you go.
If you can find it. I mean, it's not easy to come by, but
you can always find it. The question is just at what price.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, you can go on any Facebook group and somebody will have it. But one thing I wanted to bring up as well, at least the past few releases, the last year or so of releases, they've all kind of hovered around anything between 100 to 110 proof. Has that been intentional, or has that been something that you all just kind of landed on with the blending process?
We need to talk about our trademark term here. Recently, we decided to trademark this.
Oh, okay.
So, Ricky?
Yeah, so we do what we call flavor proofing. And so I'll say the proofs themselves, the range is not intentional. Being inside that range is not intentional, but the proofs are very intentional. So how I would explain it is, rather than proof as an afterthought, like a lot of brands and products do. So that would be like lowering the proof for better cost and more volume, or going cask strength or bottled in bond for a marketing term. We proof purely for flavor. So what that ends up looking like is in our blending process, once we have kind of an area of the blend that we like and we're playing among percentages relatively small, I don't know, plus or minus 10, 15% on each component, we'll start trying the blends in a different up and down the proof range. So we're trying a bunch of different blends at a bunch of different proofs to find the proof and blend combination that create the best product. Because as you guys know, water changes the flavor of a bourbon. And so anything that changes the flavor to me should be a large consideration in the development process. So we're going through and trying to find the best blend at the best proof. And the interesting thing is that isn't always as simple as finding the best blend and then finding the best proof within that, because the two best products might be blend A at 98 proof and blend B at 107 rather than two different proofs of blend A. But you wouldn't know that unless you went through and tried it.
I'm mostly asking too because Eric and I think both, tend to lean towards higher proof bourbons. But this always surprises me with how much flavor there is at, and not that, 103, 107 isn't, it's not a low proof bourbon. It's quite high for, anybody who went to college and, they saw a vodka that was 86 and like, I'm going to have a rough night after this, but there is still so much flavor and depth of character to anything that you all put out at this proof point. But it does bring up something I wanted to ask you all about too. Is there anything that you haven't put out yet, whether it's, on the docket or in the back of your mind, kind of a dream product that you would like to put out eventually? And, how far away are you from maybe putting that out? And I know you all said that you're distilling your own whiskey too from your own corn. So does that play a factor into it as well? I know that you're sourcing product. I imagine that eventually you'd like to, only put out your own whiskey. Yeah. But what does that look like for you? Your dream 15 stars bourbon.
I'll take a shot and then Ricky can take a shot. And I don't think we have, that's one of the things about our approach. We really do. I think a uniqueness in it is our approach is there's nothing about marketing. There's nothing, we're not working toward a price, right? We price it whatever it has to be after we make it. We have one goal in mind when we're producing a bourbon to put in our bottle, and that's what's the very best flavor that we can put in it. And how do we let, in some ways, the whiskeys lead us to where they want to go, right? We don't lead them somewhere. We let them lead us. Ricky and I are working together right now. I'm pulling together some samples. We got some really nice super aged rye whiskeys, and some of those are Indiana, some of those are Tennessee, and some of those are Kentucky. We haven't put together the rye whiskey we've got out there. Our First West Rye is a stunning whiskey. It won Best of Show whiskey at the New York Wine and Spirits competition last year, and it won Best of Show whiskey at the LA Spirits Awards this year. So it's won 2 Best of Show whiskeys. It's a stunning thing. It's 6, 7, and 9-year-old whiskeys blended. But we'd like to do something. We've got double-digit whiskeys and so ages, and so we haven't put that together yet. So we're pulling samples together. We're putting the sample order in now. We're gonna play with that and see see how that comes out. So that's one I think we're thinking about. We've put together some other interesting things that haven't come out yet that are in a bottle. We are working toward a more approachably priced line, so we are looking at producing some, and we think we will launch something that we think will be really kind of unique next year. And so we will do, for the first time, we will say, okay, we probably won't have a lot of 18-year-old whiskey in a 69-year-old bottle, right? So we will limit. We'll do for the first time. We'll limit our what we use to something that can be put in a bottle at that price, but still aged. We love aged. It'll probably circle around 6 years, and it will probably. We've got a couple of blends of whiskeys that we like, Kentucky, that will be used in that. But we also have found a couple of our colored corn whiskeys that we distilled that blend into that. Those corns produce different flavors. Each of them produces a very unique and very interesting flavor. And so we will start blending that in. It improves the blend of the traditional Kentucky bourbons that we have, so it makes it better. And so we're going to be able to put a more approachably priced bottles out in the market that will be 15 stars endorsed. That will be, I'm super anxious about. Of course, those whiskeys that we have, using these little corns, those are going to be really cool. The flavor's different. It's going to be super cool. We will use those in our blending. It's tools in our blending that nobody else has. We own this strain of corn. It's our corn. We use it, not the popcorn, as we said. So we have proprietary corn blends that we can use in making those. I think it's super exciting. Very different than most distilling operations, right? A lot of them, you got one or two mash bills, and we're distilling 12 mash bills today. And so, we're setting ourselves up for blending in the future, and we're distilling things that we like. And I'll just hit one more, and I don't know if I left Ricky any space on this question here. I might have taken this one, but in terms of sourcing on our 15 stars, yeah, from a cost perspective, we'd always like to use our own, and we are distilling a dozen different mash bills, so at some point, we're going to have a lot of variety. But I don't think we're ever going to leave that idea of the very, very best thing that we can produce. And I think that the diversity of product that we can get from sourcing will mean that forevermore, we will source some component of that to just add that extra dimension and complexity to the bottle. So if you're just looking at cost, yeah, you just use your own. But if you want to produce the very, very best, I'm not sure that, it doesn't still include some sourcing.
I think that reminds me, we mentioned them earlier, Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Yeah.
And it's like, making a blend, you got some of your distillation, and then you've got the stuff you source. Based on these products, I have no doubt that you can put out a great product with all those blends in it. And based on what they've done with putting out their fusion and discovery, I'm excited.
Those guys are great.
Yeah.
That reminds me too, Ricky, I forgot to ask you, what were you studying in college before you got asked to figure out whether or not your corn could be, produced into a whiskey?
So I graduated with a degree in marketing and entrepreneurship of the business.
So nothing to do with
Not chemistry.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a good way to show just follow your dream.
Do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
Exactly. Get the paper, and then you'll move on from there.
There you go.
Guys, I think that about wraps it up for this conversation.
This is we could talk blends and mash bills and stuff all day long, but I know some people are probably just ready to go drink some whiskey.
Yeah, this has been wonderful. I'm so thankful that you all have been so generous to us as well, with sending media samples too, and I'm so excited for what's next with 15 stars. Is there anything else that you all want to mention to the listeners, the viewers of This Is My Bourbon Podcast before we let you all go?
I think we just say we're super happy to be here. We're thrilled that you liked what we've sent you. We'll keep sending some bottles. We'll keep working really, really hard, and we're privileged to work in a business that's a great business with great people throughout it. I've been in a lot of different businesses. This is the only one Ricky's been in, but I guess popcorn for a little while. But
lucky man, Ricky, you're so lucky though.
Popcorn and bourbon, that's amazing. That's amazing.
You can't go too wrong. But industries are different, and this is a really friendly, cordial, collaborative group of people, and you guys are part of that. You guys know it. It's a pleasure to be a part of it, and we're enjoying every day.
I'd love to get out of my day job just to only do bourbon. Thank you all so much. This has been a treat.
You guys.
Movie theaters.
Thank you for having us.
15 stars in movie theaters. Popcorn and bourbon. That's what I was thinking. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'll taste test. That's all I'm going
All
to
right.
say.
Fair enough. Cheers, y'all.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Eric, while we're doing high proof hot takes and while we're doing tips and bits, we've had a couple samples that have been sitting on the table, collecting some flavor for the past 2 weeks that I think we need to get into and see how they've aged, I suppose, with some toasted oak. I mean, I can pour for myself, but I figured since you had it open already, I would let you pour for me, but that's fine. Anyway, so we reviewed 2 weeks ago the new Elijah Craig Toasted Rye, and in the media sample kit, we also received a couple of little pieces of toasted oak along with it. And we have been saying for a long time that we wanted to find out what a toasted barrel-proof Elijah Craig would taste like. Bourbon, not just the rye. So we did that. But on top of that, as we were kind of instructed to do by Heaven Hill,
They made us.
They held a knife to our throat.
More than that.
I'm a eunuch now. They said we should, because they sent a bottle of just the regular untoasted rye. They said, put one of
Toast it yourself.
Toast it yourself.
You jerks.
You idiots.
You big dummies. You want to talk about us?
We're
all
going
the
to
time?
castrate you.
Let's see what kind of stuff you can do. So now we're supposed to send it back, and they're going to judge us on their podcast. Did you know that part?
Yeah, it's called This is Heaven Hill's Bourbon Podcast.
It's called
TIMBP.
It's called Would You Know My Name If I Saw You
at Heaven Hill. That's actually a great name.
Would it be the same?
So do you want to start with the rye or do you want to start? Let's start with the rye because it's going to be lower proof, right?
Mm-mm.
It's
Oh, no. Sorry.
it's a little
They got us. They tricked us.
it's a little much.
They knew what they were doing. No.
That's a lot of it's a lot of oak.
All right, cheers.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't taste bad.
It tastes like wood chips.
Yeah.
It's definitely took too much.
The finish is rough. Yeah, we should have taken that out last week. Stop throwing stuff.
All right.
It's definitely not as good. And you didn't even really like the toasted rye.
I didn't.
It's not as good as the toasted rye, though.
No, I would rather have their toasted rye than ours. I'll take back what.
Oh, so you're saying that the people who have been making bourbon for 100 years actually might know what they're doing?
I just said I would take that over this one. I can still be critical. All the hate mail.
With a hate has an 8 in it?
But this smells pretty good. This was a 8-year Elijah Craig single barrel.
127.7 proof. We're supposed to be doing other stuff during this, but we just focused way too much on
high proof hot
the
takes.
rest of it.
Oh, I'm just leading into everything today. My high proof hot take and my tips and bits are combined in one.
Okay. My high proof hot take is learn how to drive your daggum car.
Me?
Just anybody.
Sorry.
You
looked right at me.
No, I looked at the camera.
I'm right there looking at the camera too.
Sorry.
What happened?
I feel like people are more concerned with their own daggum self
They are. That's the
than they
world we live
are
in.
with other people around them. Okay?
That's 2024.
I understand that. I
Summed
know
up.
we're in a post-COVID world where everybody is way more focused on themselves. I know that. I know. There's more people on the road than just you. Okay? Speed limits exist for a reason. Both ways.
What if it's like,
Get off your phone. Look in your mirrors.
what if it's,
I'm not done. Look before you merge. Use your turn signals. For the love of all things holy, Jesus Christ on a cross. Drive the speed limit. Both ways. Above and below, okay? I feel like I shouldn't have to say this. We all took the same course, didn't we? Didn't we? Yes, we did.
we were in different counties,
I don't care.
different roads,
It should be the same, largely.
different speed limits, different instructors? What is wrong?
I'm tired of it. Sick of it.
I was trying to say, what if you are the only one on the road? It's like 4 a.m.
I don't care. Okay.
You're the only person on
Well,
the road.
that's a different set of circumstances, isn't it?
But what if that happens?
Okay, fine. But if it's the middle of the day and you're driving to your friend's house to record a podcast with him
Yeah.
and you're already under a certain set of time constraints,
Okay.
we live in a society, Eric.
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right.
Yeah. I think
Well,
I
that
peed
was-
a little.
That was fun. That was entertaining.
Yep.
Slightly aroused right now. Not used to seeing you get that mad about something. I'm not used to seeing you get mad about anything. Honestly.
Here's the thing. I'm practicing mindfulness and really, really controlling myself around like not getting overly frustrated around my daughter.
Yeah.
And so,
So you take it out on me?
no, that was not at you.
You looked at me and said I should drive.
Holy
better.
crap, this bourbon is really good.
Yeah, this is good. This toasted barrel proof bourbon is delicious.
Isn't this pit called like 125 and a 55 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when what's his name got pulled over on the way to the pit.
Yeah, from my whiskey sheet.
Yeah.
This is way too appropriate.
Yeah. Guess he should have listened to you, huh? Drive the speed limit.
He's a cop too.
It doesn't matter. The laws apply to everyone.
Anyway. So you got tips and bits and hyper hot takes all in one?
Hot takes.
Yeah, cool.
My tips and bits is go see some live comedy. I went and watched Trevor Wallace last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in town.
Yeah. Sold out shows all weekend.
Friggin', I want to get him on the podcast so badly. He never would, but I want to have him on the
Wow.
podcast.
But me and April went to Comedy Off Broadway and watched Trevor Wallace.
Nice.
Hilarious. So my tips is Trevor Wallace. I've said it before. He's got a special pterodactyl out. Tons of funny clips. He's got Stiff Socks podcast. Listen to him. Also, go watch some live comedy, whether it's him or your favorite person, whatever. Live comedy is just so fun. It's fun to see professional comedians up there just doing their thing. And you can really tell that he was working on new material. So, like, he was gauging the audience. and all that.
Nice.
It was fun.
That's awesome.
Really fun. My high proof hot take is if you go to a
Oh no.
comedy show, don't try to make yourself part of the act, okay? Like, yes, there's a little crowd work. Crowd work is a big thing right now. Good for clips, all that. It's funny when somebody can do good crowd work. It's fun.
Are you going to be on TikTok?
I won't. There could be somebody. There was one bit that he was kind of throughout the whole show. And it was funny because when he got asked the question, he told the answer, and he didn't try to keep inserting himself. There was some people who kept trying to say stuff out loud to get recognized. And to one point, towards the end of the show, Trevor was like, okay, you're not taking over the show, and like telling somebody to be quiet. So if you go to a comedy show, even if you're drinking, that's when I had the Buffalo Trace. And also if you're at Comedy Off Broadway, ask for a double and they'll give you a quadruple.
Whoa.
I mean, I had a full rocks glass of
Dang.
Buffalo Trace. Felt it this morning. Sure did. But
I mean, I felt my drinks from my live stream last night, this morning.
But enjoy live comedy. Don't try to be part of the act. If you get asked a question, say it, have some fun, goof around with some crowd work, but don't continue to try to be part of a clip the whole time.
A couple of comedians who have been killing it with their podcasts recently.
Stavros.
And Theo Vaughn.
Oh, yeah.
They've both been killing it recently. I don't know what's going on.
Santino
but
was
they're
on
just-
another episode of Vaughn the other day. It was really good.
Was he?
Mhm.
I missed it. I guess that's one of my tips and bits. The other one, I just literally discovered this account. Not discovered, but found out about it today.
On Instagram?
Yes. I had never...
Skibbity Toilet?
Yes, Eric, I'm going to recommend Skibbity Toilet again.
Yes.
This is the most insane Instagram page I've ever seen. I was losing my mind watching them. It's called Freak Bait.
Freak Bait.
Freak Bait.
Okay.
They are the Today's Mission Instagram. Okay. They always have weird little missions for you to do out in public or with your friends. Okay.
And do you do it and tag them and stuff like that?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm brand new to this. I'm telling you. Okay. So, for example, here's one.
Today's mission. Ask a cashier where a specific item is. When they bring you to it, grab a completely different item and walk away.
Okay.
So ask them like where the butter is.
And
they
then
take
go-
you to it and get like jelly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's funny.
Here's another one.
During conversation, agree with everything they say, but in a sarcastic tone, as if you mean the opposite. Today's mission. See how many times in a row you can ask your friend or a stranger what time it is.
What time is it? Just over and over.
I
want to know if there's a page where the people actually upload if they did it.
That would be great. This was the one that really convinced me that these are my people, okay? And that I have lost my mind to the internet.
Today's mission. While in a public place, messily eat crushed Oreos out of an urn. I love Grandma's cooking.
Out of an urn?
Out of an urn.
Oh, that's funny. Now we're talking. The other ones were just playful. That's good.
And
Eating your grandparents' ashes in public, that's good stuff.
yeah.
I'm going to do that.
There's one that's like invite your friends over to your house, but hide some chocolate pudding in the restroom. Excuse yourself, and then say like I need to go. And then when you come back, have the pudding smeared like all over your face.
I'm down with that.
Just crazy.
I like
just
this.
crazy stuff,
like
you know? Crazy stuff like you going to the Patreon and supporting the
Good
show
segue.
at patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast for as little as $1 a month. But for as little as $5 a month, you get bonus content every single week. Every Monday, there is a bonus episode. Every Tuesday, there are the pregame chats and the uncut version of the podcast that comes out before the edited version, the censored version, where we can't say stuff like... There we go. I was waiting for the C. I bleeped it all, too.
Oh.
All right, stop. I can't. You're making more work for me.
Okay. I'm not.
Stop.
I'm not.
Stop. That was good. Oh, man. Also, like I said at the top of the episode, too, it's going to become really important over the next couple of months just because life changes. You know? But Eric's still going to be doing the show while I'm kind of on paternity leave for a little while. I'm trusting him with a lot of responsibility. So please be nice to him.
Or don't.
Or don't. Be really mean.
Yeah. Continue.
Kick him in the virtual nuts.
Do it. Continue to do it. I'm used to it now.
Like you haven't been doing that for the past 3 years anyway.
Yeah.
He knows. He knows what's up. You can also follow us on social media. I am at PureRitter1792. Personally, this is at Whiskey Mutant, and the show as a whole is at My Bourbon Pod. If you have questions or comments, you can send them to thismybourbonshop@gmail.com. You can find all of our apparel and merchandise at bourbonshop.threadless.com. I'm just taking over this whole thing. I'm sorry.
It.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm sorry.
It's my birthday.
I want some more of it.
I tried so hard.
Would
you know?
If you want to send us stuff, you can do so by sending it to our P.O. Box. That is P.O. Box 22609, Lexington, Kentucky 40522. You can leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice, and we will actually read it out here on the podcast too. Yeah. That is a great way to support the show and get it in front of more people. It pushes us up in the podcast charts as well. 5-star rating and review in your podcast app of choice. And I think that about does it for this week's episode. Thank you to Rick and Ricky from 15 Stars for being on the show.
Tricky Ricky.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you.
Hope you've had a decent one.
When's my birthday? Do you know?
The 19th.
Are you sure?
Yes, I am sure. It is the 19th, right? See y'all next time. Until then, I'm Perry.
I'm Eric.
And this is My Bourbon Podcast.